But the slaves are not. What
Slaves have to sit there and do work all day.
Yes.
Hold on. Let me. Why did they have a social class then? Why would they have invented a social class
No quality of life.
if it didn't improve somebody's quality of life?
Well, it did because like if you
Hold on,
didn't have laws.
Calm thyself. Calm thyself.
No.
Okay. Look, guys, let me tell you this. And before I taught this subject, this was a difficult question for me too, because whenever I thought of technology, I thought of things like, oh, it's in my hand and I can use it. Is an idea technology?
Yes.
What?
Is an idea knowledge?
Yes.
Yes.
Guys, this is where it gets confusing, so I'm just going to go ahead and clear this up. A lot of people would consider things like social classes and social organization, jobs and specializations. Those are ideas. That's knowledge. That's called social technology. So if you had written that down, you would be correct. Those are. We weren't getting there, so explain this. People created it. There was no social class before people. There were no specializations. There were no schools. There were no jobs. These things are technologies. They are social technologies. So that should help you clear it up. And that's why I praised Yusuf so much for his definition. And that's why I kept trying to tell you guys, go back. Go back to your definition. Look at it. Look at it. Knowledge, tools, inventions. Knowledge, like Afsa said earlier, is something that can't be seen, right? But it still affects us. And social class was constructed to create order, like we studied. It created the order in their society. Rajanera?
And if you think about it this way, why would they make the social class system if it doesn't improve your life?
Right.
There would be no sense.
You're right. What did it do? How did it make life better during those times?
Well, I'm gonna use an example like how we need laws. That's how they need the social class, because if they don't have any laws, like it will go out crazy. They will know who should do this, who should do that, and their population keep increasing. So that's why they
Laws, order, safety.
Law and order.
Safety, peace. Peace, stability, organization. Remember we talked about Hammurabi's Code of Law. Would that be technology?
Yeah.
Social technology is Code of Law. Right, Donnell? Code of Law.
He said law.
Very good. All right. So we have our examples, guys. We have our examples. Now what we're going to do, let's go to our reading very quickly. It's a very short reading. We're going to do a partner read. You're going to find any additional examples. So what you saw in the video, you are now going to read a little bit about. Now you need to start thinking, hey, do I have the technology here? Is it a technology? Okay, how did it improve quality of life? Once you're done with the reading, give me a thumbs up, and then we're going to break into our groups. And then I'll give you the final set of directions for today, okay? All right, go ahead. Let's open up our books, please. Open up. We are going to read Chapter 3, Sumerian Science and Technology. Chapter 3, Sumerian Science and Technology. And I didn't write the page number. I'm an idiot.
Number 8.
99. Sorry. Yay. 100. Hassan, what do you need, buddy?
About the social class, and the quality, even about the quality of, like, even if slaves have a quality of life, just some of them is negative for them, some is positive, you still have quality of life.
Exactly. Madam? What? Oh no, what's gonna do? Okay, we'll fix it. Hurry up, please. Okay. 100. 100. After Lamaya. Okay. All right, guys, let's finish up. So you should be on page 100. Everybody point to where it says Sumerian Science and Technology. We are going to read Sumerian Science and Technology. As one person is reading, the other person will be following along and jotting down the examples of the technology that you hear, that you haven't yet listed. Okay? So you should have a visual after the video with what you're going to read here. This time, there's going to be several things in here too that we haven't found yet. So we're going to make sure to jot those down. This time, we're going to start with readers on this side. My right, your left. Okay, readers, raise your hand. Readers, raise your hand. Okay? Here we go. Have your chart out. Continue your list. Are you ready to read? On your mark.
Stop on page what?
Just read that section. Sumerian Science and Technology. 3, 2, 1, go.
Historians believe that Sumerians may have invented the plow about 6,000 years ago. The plow was the first a great deal in their daily lives. The plow was the first important tool invented.
Did you get all these?
The first plows were
We got the plow. Did you get the
often
plow?
simple digging sticks with handles. They
The
could be
wheel?
pulled or pushed first by
Okay.
people, then by animals.
Potter's
Plows
wheel?
broke up hard soil, which made planting easier. Also,
about-
water
what about
could sink more
bronze?
deeply into plowed soil. As a result, the roots of plants received more water. The Sumerians used the wheel in
Did
many
you guys
ways,
find
such
anything new
as
yet?
To transport goods.
Did you find anything you don't have on your
Wheel
list yet?
wagons help farmers take their crops to make market more
you
easily
should have found
and
something.
quickly.
Did you find it?
However, transporting goods on the
Where's
river
bronze?
was still more efficient.
Did people make it? Did it improve quality of life? Okay. Keep going, yep. Keep going through. It's in the same. Okay, guys. Keep going through here. Stop here.
Make to more easily and quickly. However, transporting goods to the river could still more one is
Sumerians were among the first people to use bronze, a mixture of copper and tin. Bronze was stronger than copper, so it lasted longer and stayed sharper. Bronze tools became another item that
on the
Sumerians could trade.
was still more
efficient. One special kind of wheel was the potter's wheel. Before the invention of the potter's wheel, people had pottery by shaping coils of clay by hand. With the potter's wheel, Sumerians could make more pottery faster. Pots were important storage containers for surplus food. Sumerians were among the first people to use bronze, a mixture of copper and tin. Bronze was stronger than bronze was
Donnell,
stronger
go
than
ahead. I
copper.
know you've been waiting a long
So
time. He asked first. You need to. Are you going to throw patty cake?
the Sumerian developed a method to keep record of corn and trade goods. They remember there was based on go to number 60. So today we have 60 seasons in a minute and 16 minutes in an hour. Circle sending contain 316 decrease eventually the creation of
Okay, what else? What else have we found?
calendar.
Let me read through it. Sumerians used a triangle and a measuring rope to set land boundaries. They understood the geometric shapes such as rectangles, triangles, and squares. They used those shapes to make bricks, build ramps, and dig canals.
Stylus to press markings into a printed because of its shape. The stylus made
You know, I'm gonna give you a
wedge shape.
I go because my aunt she run a daycare and I go there.
Pictures and began to
But I'm not part of the daycare. I just get on.
of the wedge shape. The wedge shape writing is called cuneiform. The writing system was very complex. The Sumerian language contained 600 different symbols. Learning all of those symbols took years. As
You
a
find it,
result,
anyone? Good.
Hey,
Good.
Nehemiah.
Okay.
This
people who specialize in writing were
All right, listen up. So what we'll do now is we're going to break off into our groups, same spots from the morning. You'll go there. Make sure you got your list together. Once you get there, listen for the directions. So you have 30 seconds. Ready? On your mark, get set, go. Mohammed, when Donnell gets back, you can go. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, very good. All right. I need everybody to look at the screen very quickly. Here's your task. You now have at the bottom of your paper, you have a long list of technologies from ancient Mesopotamia. Now it's time to evaluate which technologies are the best. Which ones had the biggest impact on the quality of life of the people that lived in Mesopotamia? So if you remember our objective from today, we go back, identify technology from Mesopotamia and explain how it improved quality of life for the people who lived there. You have to think about, well, which technologies have you read about and watched have had the biggest impact on the people who lived in Mesopotamia? And which ones have even lasted to impact your own lives? Which ones do you think were the most important? Which were the most significant? You are going to identify 3 of those technologies. You are going to write each one of those technologies in box 1, box 2, and box 3. What are the 3 most important technologies that you have read about today? Do you understand? So take 3 from your list. You need to talk about and you need to discuss. Which is the most? Which 3 of the technologies do you feel were most important? And why? Why were they so important? To the left in your spaces, you are going to draw a picture of each of those technologies. And in the box, see where it says quality of life? You are going to explain how this technology improved the quality of life for the people that lived in Mesopotamia. Are you ready? Okay, set, go.
So I think it should be the wheel.
Thank you, Donnell. Can you turn your body?
Social class is way more important. Social technology.
They might disagree. They might disagree with you. You guys need to come to a consensus, though. Which three? Because he was being Mr. Fancy Pants and he had to go along.
But social class controls the rivers. Social class keeps it to where nobody gets killed purposely.
I'm gonna tell
There's
you
no
right
chaos.
now what's most
And people know what to
important.
do. We already got that.
Because without it, you would
I
have
feel cuneiform because without cuneiform, we wouldn't even like be reading this.
Look through your list. You guys are gonna go through your.
Cuneiform.
Calm down.
Why wheel?
Why wheel?
No, the wheel is way more important than cuneiform.
You gotta review your list. You're evaluating, which means you need to consider each one that you wrote down. You understand? Which one was most important? So, how did each one affect quality of life? Which one was most
It has to
important?
be the first one.
Transportation.
Ready?
Yeah.
Okay, the wheel makes transportation
Is
easier.
that what you think? You need to talk to them. Okay.
And
The
trade
next
goods
one.
easier.
The next one I'm saying is the plow. He'll break
Did
pots.
you
No,
look at
I
all
think
your
it's
examples
cuneiform.
again? Did you look through each of your
I mean,
examples?
trade goods.
Okay, so it's cuneiform.
There's one technology I think
Yeah.
a lot of people are
But I
gonna
think it's
not even think
cuneiform.
about being
So,
important.
Q.
You have it listed on your
You put
It
it
helps
Which
keep
one?
track of like
head to
records.
hats
it helps
in order
keep
for
track of
all the other
records
You
technologies.
can like message somebody.
Wait, what?
I want you to, you gotta look through each one. So what I just told them,
It helps keep
you're
track.
gonna wanna go through
I
your
thought
list.
social class wanted one of them.
Read each
records.
technology and stop. For example, domestication.
Oh yeah.
Stop.
And
Was that important?
I think the third one
Why?
is
How
the
did it
social
improve
class.
quality of
Yeah,
life?
because
Was it more important than the other
like
one?
it
said that
Think
wasn't
about
an
it.
invention.
Levies.
yeah, but now that
Do the same
the
thing.
social class creates order because
Do the
like
same thing.
without the social
You
class,
understand?
it'll be a whole bunch
So,
of
consider.
chaos.
Don't jump to your answer. I know
yeah, help
you're
keep
eager
track
to
of
get through to the
records
answer.
and writing.
Good.
Used to
I like
communicate.
disagreements. I want you. Here's what I want. Like I said, you guys need to.
Mesopotamia didn't have anything to write about.
And what I've told the other groups too. What will help, and I probably should have written this.
They make
You
the
need to go back
cuneiform,
through
right?
your list. Look at each one, stop, and discuss each one.
Like that, like
For example, right back to the beginning. Domestication. Is that important? Why?
we're not reading here, girl.
It's what page?
Like your page.
Cuneiform
is the right of their symbol.
Which one's
Writing
most
symbol.
important?
Yeah, you need like a talk.
Well, what are you guys thinking about? What makes a
You need to
technology
write
more
something like
important than another
history,
technology?
right?
What makes a technology more important than another one?
Writing symbol. So it was very like, you know.
Who can read that?
No, that is cuneiform.
So Sakari has to do with survival of human beings, right? What's with something else? Well, no, hold on. I don't want an example. What else did we get to say? You're basing it on
This
human
one
survival. You're
this
basing
one
it
is
on
asking you what's in quality of life. Like what is this important of
because there's
life?
technologies in
And
here
what important of
that if
life
it wasn't for
is
them, you would have no other technologies.
like
Did you think about that? Do you see what I'm getting at now? Now can you guys narrow down your discussion? And you should be able to
you
tell.
need to writing the history. You need to write the important things in the
My ladies,
The cuneiform is symbol of symbol, right? And like
now, here's my question. Look, you guys have your big list of the technologies, right? Look at all of them. What I tell everybody, go back, look at each one. There are some technologies here that if these were not invented, no other technologies be invented. So which ones are most important and why?
Mr. Brown.
cuneiform plow
and Madrid.
Okay. Why can you say how those improve quality of life? Do you think those were the most important?
Yeah.
So now you need to know why. You all agree?
Yeah.
Okay, so go ahead and explain. So cuneiform, how did that make life better? How does that improve life? Huh? So why is that important? Okay, that would be one. Why else?
Maybe they can remember their language, like what they write, their symbol.
You can sometimes you write letters, you pass notes to communicate. If you can't remember something, what do? You
Write the important thing.
you remember it. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So that would be your example, and you're going to do the same thing for plow then, and you're going to same thing for the other. Okay. Keep going, girls. Good job. Volume. Huh? Ooh, interesting. Okay, now I've gone to each group now, and I've said, you guys seem to be in agreement that it's the wheel, cuneiform, and social class, you say?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, not
That's
everybody?
what I think. Cloud, irrigation, and writing.
Only me and Haroon did thought that.
Here's what I'm going to say to you, and this should be how you think about it. Which technologies had the biggest impact on quality of life? There are certain technologies in here that made it possible for other technologies to come about. You got to think about what makes one technology more important than another one. What is it that makes a technology more important?
The wheel is definitely one of them because in the video she even said that they believe that the wheel is the most powerful. And they don't just use it for transportation, they use
They
it to
use
like
it for trade goods and other stuff.
anything.
And
It's
it's like the most important thing they invented.
All right, go ahead. You guys, that's what you need to think about though. I'm gonna let you go ahead and finish up.
See, that's why we all
Get your picture. Get your how does it make life better? Quality of life. Go.
Oh yeah, Mr. Red said it was just a bunch
Okay,
of
guys,
time.
we should be finishing up. Yeah. Is it the technology?
It is?
Yeah, we talked about it. It's social technology.
Why you talking to me like this so bad? Talk like this.
Okay.
Like me.
Now we need to write a picture that matches our
the social class, I'm gonna draw like a triangle.
Okay.
No, you should
not
draw.
the
You should
triangle,
draw a
but
rectangle. Yeah. You should draw a
What should I
rectangle
put for
because
irrigation?
that's the shape of
And
their
I
Or,
basically I want you to have the evidence.
rectangle.
Backing it up. Yeah, what makes one technology more important than another technology?
Yeah, you should like in the cuneiform you should just draw a clay.
Manu, come on.
A clay tablet.
Yeah, a clay tablet with a bunch of Mesopotamian writing like some triangles.
Okay. Good. Now finish coffee life from Mubricks. Okay. How do Mubricks make life better? And make sure you guys get your pictures. Ready? So make sure they get this. No later. Tear it up. We got about 2 minutes. Then we gotta get moving.
The blood and the good food too. I should got do like this the last time.
No, you don't have to.
Okay, everybody, listen up. Listen up. Let's go around real quick. And before we do, let's take about 1 minute. You guys need to pick the one technology from the 3 you selected. So I've come around and I've already looked at your guys' work. You need to pick one person from your group to share out. You guys need to tell me which of your 3 now is the most important of all. Which technology is the most important at all? So far I'm coming around, I see a lot of people have picked the wheel. A lot of people have picked cuneiform. I saw a couple people pick irrigation. All right, I'm interested to see how the groups differ and which one is most important, okay? You guys have 1 minute. Ready? On your mark, get set, go. Who's gonna share? Okay, Hassan.
No, every time you always present it.
Who's gonna share?
1, 2, 3. Does that mean you're not doing it? Both
Yes,
of them
I
go-
am. Yes, I am.
Every time
Figure it out.
Oh no,
Figure
I
it
did
out.
the
You
wrong
got problem
thing.
solved.
Okay, I want to do it. Okay, do your part.
Who's gonna share?
Me.
Girls, who's gonna share? Yeah, Parvati. All right.
Okay, Marie.
Here we go. Let's start. Let's go around the horn. Let's start straight back at 12 o'clock. Rise. Okay, everybody, eyes turned around. Let's think. Think about how your team's response differs or is similar to what Asma is about to say for her group. Ready? Set? Go.
I think cuneiform is one of the most important out of all of the technologies because that led to other languages, including English.
Okay.
And without that, like, we wouldn't have laws because,
For recording laws, writing them down. So everybody, okay, go
or the
on.
calendar,
You'd be a write down on the calendar, okay.
and keeping records,
Keeping records to remember, keep track of history,
and scribes need, like,
okay. And I think one you might have left out there was
speech.
communication. You can communicate over distance. People send things in the mail still today, right? Over email, being able to read what somebody else was thinking at a certain time. Very good. So she says cuneiform. Cuneiform has had a huge impact on the world. It was the first language system, right? First written language. And eventually this developed into other languages too. It was kind of the basis for that. Helped us keep records and histories and stories. Helped us remember things and communicate. Okay, I would say that's pretty valid. Thank you, Asma. Table. Ready? Parvati, what did you guys say?
We pick plow.
You picked a plow because?
Plow is important because it helps people to make food and like grow food.
It helps people make food and grow food. What does a plow do?
Like
Show me. It helps to grow plants, okay? It dig up the soil, okay, because it helps grow food. It helps you to
eat food.
okay? So the seeds go into the ground, you water it easier, and it gives you the food, like they did. That's how they started the farming. Okay, so they say plow. That's two different ones. Thank you, Parvati. Court jester.
We chose the wheel because it made like transportation easier and trading goods easier, and not just easier but like faster.
The wheel. They traded goods. They carried soil. They carried crops. It made it faster, and it made it much easier and less painstaking. Wow, 3 different groups, 3 different technologies. Here. Hassan. Face the crowd.
Calendar.
The calendar. Why?
Because if you don't have the calendar, you don't know like when the plants is gonna come, or like the flood. It might you don't know when the flood's gonna come. Like if it's gonna flood, it's gonna wipe out your crops before you know.
It allows them to predict what's going to happen at certain times in the year. When's the flood going to come? When is there going to be little rain? It's going to be semi-arid. When's it going to be cold? It was pretty accurate. It's led to our calendars today. Theirs wasn't perfect, but we've improved upon it. Okay, we had wheel, plow, cuneiform, and calendar. Last but not least, do we have another different one? Go.
My group chose mud bricks because if you didn't have mud bricks, you wouldn't have houses or nothing. So you wouldn't want to live on the street, and then when it come time for cold weather, you would be freezing outside.
Oh, okay. You give you shelter. It keeps you safe from animals. The weather, right? The heat, too. Very good. Thank you. 5 groups, 5 different opinions. Very good. I have an opinion, too. Okay? my opinion, the most important development created by early people was, I said domestication. Because without domestication, oh, you said it too. Without domestication, people wouldn't have been able to settle down in one place and stop together. This is when people started to develop new things. People knew when their next meal was going to come. And when they stopped having to worry about when they were going to eat next, they could start thinking about new developments and inventions. And from domestication, people were able to live comfortable lives in one place. And they could start making other inventions. And without domestication, I would say that not many of the other inventions would have happened. Okay? But you guys have your opinions too. I thought I'd share mine. All right, excellent work. Before you leave, quick check out the door on our cards. Oh, I'm so sorry. But I need to see what you can do individually. Ready? Let's stand up, back to our seats. Yeah, and then you're gonna go, once you get your card, you can give it to me and you can go straight to language.
Language.
It's Thursday. Why did I say Thursday? Put your name on it.
Hey, I can't wait. I'm gonna do this.
If you want to grade, you gotta put your name on it. Ready, homeboy? Is this okay, or should I? Okay. It's okay. Girl. Okay. All right, here we go. What I need you guys to do, go ahead, clear off your desk except for your flashcard. Clear off your desk except for your flashcard, s'il vous plaît. Ah. All right, Mohammed, put your name on it. This needs to go away. I'm looking around. Thank you, Khalil, for clearing. Khalil, beautiful job following directions. Thank you, Parbati, for clearing off your desk. Oh, there you go. There you go, Yusuf. Thank you, Mohammed. Almost everybody. Okay. You have two quick questions here after we go through. I'm going to zip through my technologies. Hey, no, what is all this noise? What's going on here? Ah, here we are. No! Cashed out. All right, two questions. You have two questions. Number one, identify which of the following oh no, I messed up. Identify which of the following is not an example of technology. Identify which of the following is not an example of technology. I'm sorry, guys. Let me do that real quick. Okay, all you got to do is write the choice. Which of the following is not an example of technology?
We gotta explain too.
No. And then you have one question at the bottom. This technology stinks. Okay, there we go. And then on the bottom, it's the technology. Identify two examples of technology developed in ancient Mesopotamia and explain how these technologies improve the quality of life for the people that live there. That was our objective today. Let's see who met the objective. Okay? Which one is not? Which one is not technology? The telephone, written language, tractor, or the Tigris River? Which one is not? Which one is not technology? Go language. Will you tell Ms. Shannon that we're coming? Tell her I'm very sorry. It's too late. Shh. Okay, good, it's on. Go to language. And number 2, I'll read again. Identify 2 examples of technology in Mesopotamia and tell me, how did they improve quality of life? How did they improve quality of life? Thank goodness for Coke machines. Okay. Écris 2 technologies de Mésopotamie et dis-moi comment chaque technologie a fait la vie mieux. Okay. Go. Go. Okay, let's finish it up, finish it up. Thank you, thank you. Go, language. How can therefore make life better? Make life better. J'essaie de. Ok, comment j'ai fait la ligne. How make life better? How make life better? Quoi c'est important? Pourquoi c'est important? C'est important parce que si tu n'avais pas un Canadair, ta vie était quoi? C'est difficile, pourquoi? Bien, oui, exactement. Exactement. C'est ça. Okay, good. Hey, tell Miss Penn, I'm so sorry. Okay. What's another one? Yeah, right? Okay. Now, look at the second part. Explain how they improve life for people. I'll tell you what, just tell me, how did this one improve life for people? Yeah, tell me how that improved quality of life, and then you can go. What's that say? Communicating? C-O-M-M. Communicate. Look at it and say it.
Communicating.
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 Okay, good. Go. So in the future, Khalil, you would have to do that with 2 different technologies, okay? Okay. Fabriquer. Et le bras, ça aide des gens par... Okay, you have this one. Now we have to think back. Okay, you got these 2, so I'll take this, okay? C'est bien. And you have another one here. Okay, on va parler plus tard de ça, okay? Okay, go to class. Go, Miss Penn. Okay, allez. Alright, dude, good job, dude. We at least get the one and the quality of life, okay? Alright. I probably don't get yelled at.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm supposed to begin?
Yes, please.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm interviewing Erin Brown. How are you today, Erin?
Very good.
Okay, good.
Well.
I'm going to be asking you a few questions about the lesson that you taught on Mesopotamia to your 6th grade students. You had the lesson objectives on the board. Could you tell me how those objectives help your students?
Well, as you saw, you had the content objectives and the language objectives. And the content objective really presents the goal for the day. Why are we studying what we're studying? What is the purpose of the class? The language objectives really allow me to show the kids how are we going to meet the content objective. What are we going to read? What are we going to write? What is our main discussion question? What do we need to listen to in order to meet the content objective? Which today was describing how technology in Mesopotamia improved the quality of life for people that live there. So we watched a video, we read about technology in Mesopotamia, and we discussed, is it technology? Why? How did it improve quality of life? Those were the key things that allowed us to meet the objective today.
Okay, great, thank you. Could you just briefly describe what you did to help students make connections to this lesson, and why was that important to do?
Well, I tried to provide a real-life example, and I kind of had a fake phone conversation with my wife, who called me in the middle of class, and I had a conversation with her, and I explained, oh, what a great piece of technology here. And the kids all know phones, and of course cell phones, and they like them. But then I went and described, man, what would I do without this? And kind of explain how it makes my life easier, makes my life better and safer. And then that led into their own personal experience, their own background, where they could really accomplish the content objective, but with an example from their own life. Then they would only need to apply it to ancient Mesopotamia. So I asked them to think about something that's important to them, and how does that make their life better. And once they're able to do that, they know right there, they're confident enough, hey, I can meet the objective, I can talk about this in my own life. Now I just need to get the information.
Good afternoon, staff and students. I have one announcement for today, so please listen carefully. I'll give everybody a second to get to level 0.
This is annoying because they're not supposed to do this for another 7 minutes. They do it at different times.
The AWL International Festival is next Saturday, May 18th from 11 to 4. If you want to be in the student performance, you must arrive at 10:30 and return the light yellow permission slip. We will have bus transportation with 8 different pickup locations.
Oh, see, we're so limited on time, that's the problem. Okay, we'll do it again. How did you have your students make personal connections to this lesson on Start again. How did you have your students make personal connections to Mesopotamia?
Well, as far as Mesopotamian technology.
I have one more announcement. The girls' basketball clinic has been canceled for tomorrow as well. Please.
Yeah, this is one of the drawbacks of the job.
Everybody's deaf in this?
Well, sometimes it goes on like multiple times during your class, and that's really frustrating. It just shouldn't happen. Okay.
How did you help your students make connections to the lesson on technology and Mesopotamia?
Well, I tried to start off by doing something that they were familiar with. I faked a phone conversation with my wife and had that conversation, and of course they're like, ooh, what's he saying to her? Something that they were familiar with, and I went on to explain to them, wow, I can't believe this great piece of technology, my cell phone, how it improves my quality of life, how it makes my life better and easier. And from there, I asked them to think about something like my phone that they think is very important, and then to explain how it improves their quality of life. So right there, they're already meeting the objective, but with a personal example. So now they know what they need to do, they just need to go find the information from Mesopotamia and then apply it to our lesson today and find how that technology improved people's life back then, just like technology today improves their life.
Awesome, thank you. How do you emphasize vocabulary throughout your lesson? Could you give this one lesson on Mesopotamia as an example?
Well, obviously, the main term was technology, and the other big phrase was quality of life. So I really hammered down what are those two things. What is technology? Our discussion question was, what is it technology? Why? They defined technology from the book. We went through examples of technology on the Frere chart, They identified personal examples of technology they have and drew pictures of it. I showed them examples there, so they're really getting ideas of what makes technology technology. And the discussion all focused around this vocabulary. So the vocabulary is constantly being used. It's constantly on the screen. It's constantly coming out of my mouth. You know, and we're trying to, it's part of the objective. And when you're using it like that and you're rephrasing other words that are similar in meaning, they really start to develop a relationship with the word, and you make them start using it through your sentence stems and to write on the board. Quality of life. How does it make life better? How good is your life? Quality of life. Through repetition, through visuals, through speaking, through listening, through reading.
And I noticed that another emphasis was that you wanted them to recognize what is technology and what isn't technology. And I was just wondering why you included that in your lesson.
Well, because the content objectives, they needed to identify examples of technology. So you need to know what is and what isn't. And if you're really going to understand what the word technology means, they needed to know, and where it really became challenging, and I kind of pushed the discussion and challenged them to think and discuss was, well, is technology something we can hold in our hands? Is that...
We have one additional announcement. Dante McKinney, you are to take the bus home today. Do not stay for Dragon Zone. Dante McKinney.
I'll try.
Yeah.
Operate from there.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So is technology something that you can hold in your hands? Does it have to be physical? Can technology be an idea? And that's where they really started to say, well, maybe these things are technology and these aren't. And the other thing, too, is really think that technology is something created by people to meet their needs, to make their life better.
Okay, great. Could you briefly describe the strategies that you used in this lesson to scaffold learning for your students, particularly your English learners?
Mm-hmm. Well, I try to use like real objects. You saw the phone. I had to use a lot of visuals, have it printed on the screen. Read aloud, have the students see me say it, and they can hear it at the same time, see a picture of it, see it on the screen too. And use that those repetitive things, give them visuals, make them talk to each other using a discussion, breaking things down with a Frere chart by having them look at a regular definition, then what is their definition, looking at examples, looking at personal examples from their life, and having them create the visual using multiple parts of their brain to really get familiar with the content. And once that is established, you know, they can go in and really look for examples of technology. So when they're reading or when they're watching a video, they know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly why they're doing it. So the video you saw was another way just to kind of show them the technology, to show them what life was like back then. And then we went to the reading. And that's another experience where they can apply the visuals they saw in the video to the reading, which will help them understand better the language in the text.
Okay, awesome. You used different grouping patterns in this lesson. Please describe them briefly and state why they're important.
Well, I used their heterogeneous groups, and I also had a group of ELL students. I don't always have groups of just ELL students. It depends on what their language level is. And my language, my beginners, I like to have with the native speakers. They need experience with the language. They need to be able to hear it. I have certain students in this class that are very good at helping them sound out the words as they do a partner read, or to help them show the directions, to show them what the word looks like in the writing. And this gives them a real, personal encounter with the language. And they're not quite as far where they're independent. I also don't want to put the burden of a beginner language learner with my practice ELO group, because they're going to be trying. It's too much of a demand on them, to try to accommodate for someone who's at a lower level than they are, where they're not quite at the top, they're not quite proficient. And they really need to be able to focus and practice what they're doing. So the girls you saw here were in different groups at the beginning of the year. And they've progressed throughout the year, and now I have them in their own practice group, and they're very good at helping each other. They're on the same level. They know exactly what they need, what they're supposed to do. They're very comfortable, so it's easy for them to talk and to speak, and there's, it's much lower risk for them to do these things. Whereas my beginners, they really need a lot more support, and they're kind of looking for help. So I definitely want to put them with people who will be able to do that. And obviously, I circle the room a lot to help them too.
I noticed that you also, at times during the lesson, you asked students to explain to another student in their native language the more abstract, complex idea. And could you tell us a little bit about that too?
Well, I mean, the students in the classroom, I mean, they're learning. They're also great resources too. I don't know what I would do if I had a Nepali student that, by himself or herself, I try to use somebody that kind of has been in that person's shoes. So when they're translating for me, they know how to lead the other language speaker to the goal where they need to get. So basically, it's just a way for me to communicate with the student when I'm talking about a very abstract concept. I mean, we do the visuals and the motions and talk. It's still sometimes difficult to grasp. Things get lost in translation. So it is very valuable to have another student that can communicate on that level, that has been where the beginning language learner is right now. So I mean, and it's simple, it's effective, it's right there, and it allows me then to use the language, and it allows them to see, she's saying what he's saying it again. Oh, I get it now. Okay. It clicks.
Yes, and I agree with you. I've used that a lot in my teaching, and I find it very effective. Okay. Could you describe how you provided opportunities for students to practice and apply the concepts that you wanted them to learn in this lesson?
A lot of the time to practice today, I gave them opportunities to look at a video, to identify technology in the video. Gave them multiple opportunities to discuss our main discussion question. A lot of it was through discussion and supporting that based on, the definition of the word. We broke down into, with reading pairs, they compared notes, and eventually they evaluated which technologies were the most important. And a lot of that was facilitated through the discussion, through their list, building one after another, kind of scaffolding that all the way through the lesson. And when it got to the end where they had to evaluate, they then had to say, well, why is this technology more important than the other? So it was mainly through the discussion. It's just that the questions got a little bit more complex as it went up, and the demand was a little bit more. So by the time they got to the end, all that practice had built up, and they were able to really pool everything together and have a very clear idea of what technology is and was like back then.
Okay, great. How will you assess your students' learning in this lesson?
You saw me use the index cards. I called it ticket out the door, a checkout question, whatever you want to call it. It's very quick. It's very simple. Did they get the content objective today? Were they able to identify examples of technology? Were they able to identify a non-example? Were they able to explain how it improved quality of life? I'll go through those cards. I'll look through them quickly. We'll come back first thing at the beginning of the lesson, and I can show them on my screen using my document camera. I can meet with individual students if it's only one or two, I mean, right there, usually I will have an opportunity, just because it's so short and so simple, I can read it real quick and I can ask the student a question and reteach them right on the spot. So before they walk out the door, I know who's got it and who doesn't. Who do I need to review with? What part of the objective did they not get? Could they identify technology, or could they not be able to identify how to improve quality of life? Or were they able to improve how something improves quality of life but not get the example of technology? So just having something very short, very quick, very simple, that matches the content objective at the end of the lesson is very valuable in knowing, was my lesson effective today for everybody?
Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you.
Did we make it?